You're listening to The Authenticity Show, where you get to eavesdrop on great conversations about health, creativity, and the quest for excellence. Your hosts are Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. Our guest today is Bela Patel. Bela is a pharmacist who's been working in nursing homes for the past 17 years. She's also a certified holistic health coach. These two widely different perspectives on medicine and healthcare give her some unique insights in terms of disease prevention and overall health of the body and mind.
Carlos, are we more fascinated with life or are we more fascinated with death?
Wow. I mean, without life, you can't really be fascinated with death, can you?
It's the old yin-yang thing. But
Yeah.
gosh, does one of them strike a chord more than the other? I'm not sure. I wonder.
Well, I'm a natural optimist, so I would say life, but then I'm a pretty curious person, so then death.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's the thing that we don't have direct experience of, or at least conscious remembrance of, but we experience it in the sense of an outsider. We see other people die.
Yeah.
We witness people die.
Yeah.
So the curiosity naturally is there. Like, I wonder what is involved with death, but every day that you're living,
Yeah.
that seems to be more important because you can't do any of that without life.
Right. I think I was not alive a long time before I suddenly was born.
You'll probably be dead even longer.
I probably will be. So we're hearing some giggling over here. And this is our wonderful guest, Bela Patel. Hello, Bela.
Hello.
Welcome, Bela.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Us too.
So you are a holistic health coach. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's the proper terminology?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Could you kind of just describe what that is?
Okay. So basically, I help people integrate simple yet really powerful changes in their life that make whatever they want to achieve sustainable. So it's kind of like a personal trainer, right? Like, you get a personal trainer, he kind of gives you a plan, he guides you, he encourages you, and he holds you accountable. And those are all the things I do as a health coach. And to be a health coach, I actually went to school for a year at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. So now I'm a certified holistic health coach.
And so you're a pharmacist also.
Yeah.
You've been a pharmacist for a long time. In your experience, what is the difference in philosophy between those two types of training? Like what is there a different angle?
Absolutely. So as a pharmacist, I'm just kind of working on keeping that Band-Aid on, which is like the medications that are given. You know, I'm working on keeping them on. I'm helping manage them if there's any side effects, if there's any drug interactions. And as a health coach, I'm helping go to the root cause of your disease. I'm helping prevent disease, which is most important, and what I'm really passionate about is just disease prevention. Because after doing this for 17 plus years, and you see so many patients that are young. Just today, there were residents who were in their 40s and 50s, and they're on 15 different medications. And I just feel like we have got to do something. And I look at some of these people and I'm like, I feel like if there were just changes in their lifestyle and their diet, it would have made a tremendous difference. So as a health coach, I'm trying to attack it from the root and either prevent or keep it where it is and not let it progress.
Was there a particular situation or event, or was it just an accumulation of things that caused you to decide to take a different direction in your career?
I think it was an accumulation of things. First of all, working in nursing homes definitely was one. Secondly, I've kind of grown up really interested and passionate about health and wellness. My parents, I have come from an Indian background, and there were always Ayurvedic remedies that were tried first, right? That's the first thing that you do. You rarely get on a medication. And so even as a pharmacist, even today, And even 10 years ago, when people, friends and family call me for advice, the advice I give them is always something that's non-drug related. You know, I'll say, try this with your diet, or try, you know, here's some herbs I can give you. Like, why don't you make a tea with this concoction, or try honey for your allergies, you know. And oftentimes they're very successful in doing that. And so those are kind of the things that led me. And, you know, I've also had personal experiences where I've realized, wow, like, did I just induce this condition? You know, I mean, I know you're kind of looking at me like, what are you talking about? Well, one thing that was so clear in my mind, and it was a real aha moment for me, was when we moved to London. I had been an asthmatic, a severe asthmatic, as a young child. And I was in and out of hospitals fairly often. And I thought I had outgrown it. And we were moving in 2012, and my asthma was acting up again. So I was like, God, it's got to be something in the air. I think the Santa Anas are acting up here. It must be something. I was taking my rescue inhaler. It wasn't working. I got on a steroid inhaler. And then we moved to London. And I was still wheezing a lot. Oftentimes, I'd even have to put myself on the nebulizer just to get some relief. And one day, I took the bus to the gym. And I got there, and I was about to take a yoga class, and I noticed that I was wheezing a lot. And I was like, okay, I reached in my purse and couldn't find my inhaler. And so I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back home? I really don't want to wait for the bus, you know, 'cause it's so different from driving. So I'm like, I'm here. I'm just going to do it. If I can't breathe, I will walk out and then I'll leave. But at least I tried. So I did the class, and, you know, there was this French woman who I was having a really difficult time understanding. So I was really tuned in. I was really tuned into what she was saying, and I was really trying to do everything. And then I walked out, and I realized something was different, and I couldn't point my finger to it. And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not wheezing anymore. I'm not wheezing. Like, how can this happen? And I realized that all of this asthma, all my attacks were all due to my stress and anxiety that was happening due to the move, you know, due to living in a new country, leaving family, leaving friends, leaving a career. It was all of that, you know. And at that moment, I was like, wow, I can't believe that that's something that I've had for 30 years, just by taking a yoga class and breathing and forgetting about everything, I just got relief. You know? And so it was really amazing to me. And obviously after that, you know, I kept up my practice, and I didn't blame the mold in the flat, and I didn't blame the smokers on the street, you know, and everything was gone. I was off all my inhalers. Once that realization came, I think.
Wow.
So it came down to the realization.
Yeah. It's mainly the realization, you know, that, wow, you know, it's your anxiety and it's your stress. And then I started doing something about my stress and my anxiety. And I mean, you know, I was off everything.
Wow.
So.
Thank goodness you forgot that inhaler.
I know, because I would have taken 2 puffs right before class and then 2 right after.
Wow.
Because that's what you keep thinking about, right? Is like, oh, I need it. Because otherwise I won't heal.
Right.
So.
Oh, wow.
But it's really interesting.
That's a great story. Wow, that's a great story. This reminds me of a documentary many years ago that I saw. I've shared this with you, Carlos. It was in another country where this happened, and there was a young lady who had a very serious condition, and I saw this many years ago, so I don't recall what the condition was. And she had to take a medication that was very, very toxic, had terrible side effects. And what they did was they started to let her smell a little vial of ammonia every time she got infused with the medication. And then they transitioned her over to where she could get all the benefits of the medication just by smelling the ammonia.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes to show that, you know.
It's anchoring.
Yeah, it's anchoring. And sometimes it's really hard to find that inner healer, but it's in there somewhere.
It's there.
And if you can find it, you know.
If you can learn how to access it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. When we use NLP methods to reduce or eliminate allergies, it's been really successful.
Sometime I'd like you to help me with this.
Okay.
I am allergic to mosquito repellent.
Oh,
Yeah, and my mom told me years ago, oh, you could just use pennyroyal oil. And that's also as a natural mosquito repellent.
Yeah.
So if I spray off on me or somebody around me is using mosquito repellent, my throat will start to close.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the way, but I'll have a real hard time breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some pennyroyal, and I tried that one time, and my throat still started to close up, even with pennyroyal. I would love to try this.
We definitely need to do that.
One of
Because
these days.
the cool thing about it is even no matter what, it's worth doing because when people ask me about this and they call up and ask about an allergy work, I'll just say, look, the worst that can happen is that it doesn't work. It's not like this is some kind of dangerous treatment. That's the worst that can happen is it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Slightly better than that is it works partially. Would you be okay if your allergy was 50% less? Who would say no to that?
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
And if it's 100% gone, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah.
So, the way I look at it is it's a treatment that's relatively inexpensive. It's totally safe, and the potential for benefit is great.
Yeah, the
it's
upside
worth
is
doing.
totally worth it.
Wow, that's neat.
If it's delivered properly and done well,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a pretty good result most of the time.
Wow.
It's pretty effective.
Yeah, that's neat.
That's amazing.
We're going to try this. Yeah.
I'm in line too.
All right. Sounds good.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
Bela, how do you get to the root with people? Like, what is it that you're thinking, or what's the beginning of that approach when you start thinking, oh, my clients come to me, they've got this or that health problem, and I'm evaluating them, and I'm in the discovery stage and all that. How do you get to the root, like you mentioned earlier?
So, I think that first of all, I do a very thorough health history,
Mm-hmm.
and generally my sessions are every week for like an hour or so. I feel like I get to know the person very well. And oftentimes I think within the first few sessions, you know if the person's high anxiety, what kind of disposition they have about life.
Mm-hmm.
And so like sometimes with GI issues, I can kind of see if a person's very anxious, that might be attributing to their GI issues, although they'll never make that connection, and I won't say it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I will work on stress management techniques as a priority in my health coaching program. And so, because oftentimes, everyone's got stress in their life, but it's how we respond to the stress that really affects what's going on inside.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So stress management is a huge component of health coaching. And, by the end of it, I usually get people either doing meditation or pranayama, breathing exercises for at least 10 minutes once or twice a day, depending on what they're doing. And that has made a significant difference in my patients.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do they also see the value and attribute those practices themselves? Like, do they own it and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm really glad I'm doing these pranayama"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. In the beginning, I kind of tried, okay, why don't we do like this YouTube guided meditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wasn't getting the best compliance with that, or there's apps. And then a couple of times I had clients walk into the office and their energy was, you can just tell they were very anxious. They've had a stressful day. So I kind of put aside my agenda and I'm like, you know what? We're going to close our eyes and we're just going to do a few breathing exercises. And I'll do them for 5 minutes. And then the face, their body, everything has changed in 5 minutes.
Nice.
And they all kind of look at me and go, wow, that was amazing. Because for some people, that's the first time in weeks that they have been with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of right now am really finding that effective. I feel like pranayama is just working. Like, it's an active process, so people feel like they're doing something. but it's really calming their mind. Instead of the pushback of trying to meditate, because you get the response of, I can't meditate. I have so many things going through my mind. Well, 100% of us do as well, right?
I love that term, trying to meditate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to meditate. Carlos would tell me that trying implies struggle.
Yeah.
Implies failure too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Either did or you didn't. You were either practicing or you weren't practicing. You weren't trying to practice.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. Wow. Well, that's neat, because what you're doing is you're showing them how taking a simple action has much more effect than they ever could have realized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I imagine that your whole business is about actions.
Yeah.
Taking actions, or getting people to take actions, or
Absolutely.
managing their actions. How do you approach that? Like, what are some of the things that you would do to help somebody take actions when that's difficult for them?
So basically, when I do their health history, I get a good idea of what their lifestyle's like. And so each plan is so different. My last patient, client, she had 2 jobs and very high stress individual with a lot of things going on. And what we did is each week I start with small goals. And she was a person who drank a lot of Dr. Pepper every morning. And it was something she did for 17 years. She knew it was bad, but she just couldn't. She just couldn't stop. So what we did was, I even at our meeting, I don't say, you're getting off the Dr. Pepper. The only thing I said is, starting tomorrow, you're going to drink half your body weight in ounces in water, and start your day with 2 glasses of water, and maybe live a few ounces of Dr. Pepper in the morning. And for that week, I remember it was focus on water, leave a few ounces of Dr. Pepper, and let's start with exercise, because she didn't like exercise. She's made every excuse in the book. I can't go to the gym. I can't do this. I can't do that. I go, so where do you live? Tell me about your housing. And she says, oh, I live in this apartment, and I can take the elevator. I can take the stairs. I said, you know what? You're going to take the stairs twice a week, 8 times up and down. And she's like, okay, that's manageable. I think I can do that. Within 3 weeks, she was off her Dr. Pepper, right? And she was exercising 3 times a week. We implemented yoga once a week. We work in, and then of course their diet is a huge component. So I always start small. So we'll start with breakfast. I'll give you recipes. I generally give whatever their palate is like, I'll give them recipes accordingly that are healthy. I mean, we're basically trying to get everyone on real food, right? Real fruits and vegetables versus processed, chemicalized food. And I mean, in 6 weeks, she lost 17 pounds and is doing her breathing twice a day. And so I felt, and she feels amazing, she feels amazing. And now she's like, Bella, I'm going to do the stairs, because I moved her up to 3 times a week, and weights. She's like, I'm doing them 5 times a week now, and I'm going to go find a class where I can do weights. And so I was like, that's great. So I think it's always based on the individual and what they need. And I can kind of sense that after the first few meetings.
Sounds like you do a really good job of paying very close attention to who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if you don't find things that are going to work in their lifestyle, it's very hard to make changes.
That's
and
true.
My goal is to make lifelong sustainable changes. This is not a quick fix.
Wow, that's so important. What you
Yeah.
just said.
Yeah.
Lifelong sustainable changes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I will pick on you every week for that water, and I will text you during the week. What are you doing? Did you do your exercise? What did you have for breakfast? I mean, I'm on them because I care just as much as they do when I have a client. I feel responsible. I feel like I am them, and I want them to succeed.
I could use a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's solid, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that kind of coaching is what all of us need, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like all of us, everybody would benefit, including myself. I would love someone to, keep track of my food and tell me, hey, why don't you add in another day of cardio and, do this and add some more of these vegetables in your diet.
Yeah.
Anyone can benefit.
Every time I see people crowding around a baby, and the baby starts to crawl for the first time or takes a couple steps, and everybody's, oh, good boy, good girl. I think, where are these people in the morning when I need to get out of bed?
Right.
Good job. You rolled over. You're getting
Exactly.
up. Yeah. You know, I need that kind of encouragement.
Good boy, Satch.
That's what I need. Yeah.
You got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So
you can all text me anytime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely am a believer of affirmations. So that's always something I like to, it just depends on what they're into, because I find that even saying something really small, like I am healthy, I am well, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Just your mindset.
I constantly throughout my life underestimate affirmations. And then every time I'm reminded, wow, that felt really good. That was really useful. And then I forget, and then I come back to them and I forget. So do you have like an affirmation bank, or do you just sort of...
I do. Louise Hay is my affirmation bank. So depending on what I feel the client needs and if they're ready for it, to be honest, because I think for some people it could sound a little hokey. So I kind of assess who it is, and if they're going to be receptive to it, then I definitely will send them something that pertains to their life.
I want to come to something that you mentioned already about numbers of medications that you see clients on. You mentioned that a lot of people that you're seeing are on 15 plus medications. Is there a maximum number of medications that you've seen somebody on?
Okay, so when I started as a consultant pharmacist, and I think this regulation came out in 2000, CMS wanted us to flag every resident who was on 9 or more meds, okay, which included supplements. So at that time, we were kind of struggling with it, right? We were like, oh, a lot of patients are kind of following, but we still have a good number under. Let me tell you, that regulation is gone, okay, because everyone's over 9 or more meds. And I'm just looking at pages and pages. So I would say like 20.
Wow.
20, I would say.
It's quite a lot.
That's a lot of medications.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Aren't there, I've seen this written down and I've forgotten the number, but that there are lists that will explain, like, if somebody's on this many medications, there's this percentage of a chance that they're having interactions. If they're on this many medications, and I forget what the magic number was, but like once you hit a certain peak number, it's pretty much guaranteed there's some kind of interaction.
Well, that's true. I can, that's almost the unfortunate part is, as a pharmacist, I'm looking at some of these things and I'm like, well, there's an interaction here, but what can you do? The patient needs it. So, the only thing I do is I leave a note to the nurse saying, watch out for these problems that could potentially happen with the use of these 2 medications. That's what I do, because unless it's really severe, the likelihood is they're not going to take someone off of it. And, we're also at a point now where patients are very smart and smart and they're almost dependent on a lot of things that they're on, right? And so they don't want to be told, we're going to take this off, we're going to take that off, right? So it creates some fear.
Yeah.
We heard that at some point during this show that you were going to share some tips with us. Is that true?
Yep.
Are you going to treat us with some things that we can think about outside of this episode that might help us?
Absolutely. I think I'm going to give you 3 of what I consider to be the most important things that you can do for your health.
Oh, good. Can't wait.
I'm excited about this because 3 is a very magical number.
Yeah.
It's a universal, phenomenon. You're Indian. Om Tat Sat. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In Chinese medicine, Jing, Qi, and Shen. 3 things are always good to hear.
Prana, Tejas, and Ojas. So I have a question for you, Bela.
Yeah.
Is there something akin to the pillars of health like something that you think is really important for, us here and maybe the listeners to know about health management in general?
Yeah. So I feel like achieving good health is not just based on what we eat. There's many other factors, and those are all that I explore as a health coach. And I would say nutrition is definitely one of them. I would say our environment is another one. Are we happy at work? What kind of relationships are we in? Who do we surround ourselves by? Right. Those are all important because they can affect us really deeply on a daily basis. I feel exercise is a huge component, obviously moving our bodies, and stress management. Stress management is huge. Like I was saying before, right? It's how we react to stress, because we're all going to have it, but it's our perception of it. So yeah, I think, there's 4 to 5 things that I look at. And I think if we can try to tackle one at a time or at the same time, try to improve all of those areas, we can really achieve our optimal health.
Nice.
And it sounds crazy, but I know that you can make simple changes that have profound results.
And you're going to tell us about 3 of those special things, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I'm not going to let you forget. We got our eyes on you. We're going to keep track.
Yeah, very good.
And then you've got to do them.
That's true.
Oh,
she's got us now.
Yes.
Will you text us?
Yes, because I will text
Okay.
you midweek to see how you're doing with those. So
Very good.
There you go.
See, it's working already. I already know
You
I'm
feel
going
the
to do them
pressure?
because I like it. See, this is stress too, but this is a healthy kind of stress, isn't it?
Right.
So would you say that you take advantage of stress sometimes?
With my clients or with myself?
Yeah,
Can stress be a good thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think stress motivates us, right? Stress is if I didn't stress to get to work on time, I wouldn't get there on time.
Good point.
Plain and simple, right? If I didn't stress about the traffic and account for it, I'd be an hour late everywhere I went. So I definitely think that stress can help us. There's just that fine line between help and harm.
I want to talk about the fine line, because it seems like it's always a fine line, with stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Kelly McGonigal? She does a really popular TED Talk on how to make stress your friend, and it had an impact on me when I watched it. One of the takeaways I had on that was that basically the way you view stress changes how your body physiologically reacts to the stress. And this is not just woo-woo stuff. They literally studied people. They hooked them up to machines. They figured out, with control groups and everything, that people's underlying attitudes about stress changed how their blood vessels and arteries would contract and dilate. And
did they probably check cortisol levels?
They checked cortisol levels, everything. And basically, to sum up the 18-minute talk in just a few seconds, having a good attitude about the idea, basically having the attitude that stress is good for me, and that it makes me stronger, and any reaction that my body creates is just ramping up to deal with and master the circumstances that I'm in. And just having that attitude shifts the physiology from sort of like a high blood pressure, dangerous,
right, fight or flight
kind of thing into the physiology of courage.
Right.
It's not so much that stress is this huge killer, but the belief that stress kills you actually combined with stress is what kills you. That you could have a really high level of stress and not be one of those statistics if you didn't have your underlying beliefs telling you that stress kills you. Not that you should be putting rose-colored glasses on and pretending that you're not feeling something that you're feeling, but it's the whole idea of reframing. Like in NLP, we reframe things constantly. Why is that a good practice? Well, there's a good example of why that's a good practice. Reframing your situation. That's the mental battle. There's the physical stuff you have to do, and then but I just think it's neat that if you seize that opportunity to get psychologically into that winning spirit, that could be...
Yeah, totally.
Right. It's just changing your perception.
Yeah.
It's that with everything, right?
Yeah.
It's if we can just change our perception about issues in life, everything would change.
Yeah. Well, we're
Our
talking
life would change.
Yeah,
It would. Yeah, we're talking about stress. Exercise is stress.
it is.
We are physically stressing our body so that we can improve and get better.
It's
right?
pressure and resistance.
Yeah.
And breaking down cells,
Yeah.
tearing them apart so they can rebuild.
Yeah. Staying up late could decrease your health, but you could look at it as, ooh, I'm going to stay up late because diversity is good for my nervous system. I'm going to have to change it up and mix it up, and it might be fun to go to work having not slept very much. It's training, it's practice, it's an adventure.
Certainly the ability to do that could save your life.
It sure could. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's one that I'm struggling with, though. My wife's caregiver baked these amazing brownies. And I keep eating them with this idea that eating this poison is like homeopathy, right? I'm gonna get stronger by battling these poisonous brownies.
If only
It's not
it were a
working.
homeopathic dose of brownie.
I know.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
even
know.
enjoy it.
I
Right,
know.
exactly.
I
I think you're mega dosing on it.
think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mega dosing on it. Yeah, I need I need to measure it in micrograms. Yeah,
Then you'll be okay.
yeah,
So
a
you think
microgram
of,
of organic.
It doesn't sound as appealing if I tell you that they're going to, take a distilled glass of water and dip the brownie in it for 3 seconds, pull it out, then take that water, extract 1 or 2 drops out of that water, drop it into another container, and then dilute that by 100 or 1,000, and then there's your homeopathic brownie for you.
Yeah.
Tasty.
Oh man, that sounds not very delicious.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You're listening to The Authenticity Show, where you get to eavesdrop on great conversations about health, creativity, and the quest for excellence. Your hosts are Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. Next up, Carlos and Satch continue their conversation with Bela Patel.
Bela, do you work with children too?
Not as a pharmacist, but I do as a health coach.
What's that like?
It can be pretty challenging because oftentimes the challenge with children is what the parents are modeling. So even though you may have, I've had a client where the child needed to lose weight because they were at risk. Well, they did have very high cholesterol levels already at 10. And, there's a risk for high blood pressure and diabetes. And I could give all these dietary changes, but when the family is eating something different, it's very difficult for the child. But I think the success with children is when I see the parents who are very motivated. And if the parents are very motivated, then we can get things moving along pretty quickly.
Do you ever sort of lovingly lasso in the entire family into sort of a health situation where you can coach them and sort of invite them into the process?
Well, I am secretly doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
am secretly doing that, right? Because as I'm giving recommendations to the children, I'm pretty much recommending that to them as well, right? So,
Well, and plus, if they're going to go through all that effort to cook
Yeah.
special, to purchase special foods and
Right.
prepare them and whatnot,
Right.
it seems like it's a lot of extra work then to maintain their own separate menus,
exactly.
especially with the busy lifestyle these days in
Oh,
Orange
yeah.
County.
Oh,
My
yeah.
goodness,
Yeah.
people are working
Yep.
their bones off.
Yep, and taking their kids to 50 different places.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and
so
that's,
yeah.
and that's kind of within the word holistic.
Right.
Holistic is going to imply all the parts to the machinery.
Right.
Everything, the context that the child is in. That's the
Absolutely.
family. I think sometimes we talk about holistic all the time these days, and we throw the word around, but we don't really analyze what the word means.
Right.
That's important. I think it's good for people to understand that the word holistic is really one side of a coin. The other side is reductionist, right? So it's the idea that modern medicine or science, biology, is reducing things down to their fundamental pieces. If we can understand the pieces that make up the whole, then we can understand the whole. That's the reductionist idea, right? And holism, or to be holistic, is not to be too concerned with all the chemistry of what a human body is made out of, but, how does it function? What are the results like? What makes a happy, healthy, satisfactory life? That's kind of a more holistic, kind of approach.
What factors affect our lives?
Right. And it's important to be able to zoom in and zoom out, to flip from one to the other. I imagine as a person who's a holistic health coach and a pharmacist, you maybe find yourself doing that, going from one world to the other and back and forth. How do they inform each other?
Well, I think as a health coach, it's extremely beneficial that I'm a pharmacist. I think it helps my health coaching more than my pharmacist role.
That's interesting. Yeah. We should talk more about that. Go ahead.
As a health coach, I'm really able to use my medical knowledge to help my clients, make recommendations based on, I know the disease states very well. I know the meds, I know the supplements that they could possibly be on. I'm able to help them dose accordingly with food at night, whatever it is. I think the knowledge helps tremendously as a health coach. And on the flip side, being a pharmacist in the nursing homes, there are so many things I want to do as a health coach. I want to write up so many recommendations like, hey, no ice cream after every meal for this patient, right? Who's diabetic. Can we stop, please? But I can't, my hands are tied pretty much. So definitely, it works beautifully as a health coach, but not so much on the other side.
It's a one-way formula.
Yeah.
That's very frustrating. I wanted to talk about that a little bit because that was my experience as well.
Right.
So I was in a skilled nursing facility working as an occupational therapist. And the key there is that I'm hired as an occupational therapist. I'm not hired as an acupuncturist. So my job description is very well defined. So I can't practice any Chinese medicine, yet my Chinese medicine knowledge is still there, and my eyes are still working, and my ears are still working, and there's all these things I want to do. And I remember just watching all these people, once we had a big outbreak of C. diff, diarrhea caused by a nasty little bug, and they had a real hard time getting this under control. And I'm looking at it thinking, guys, if you just let me bring in some simple Chinese herbs, we would wipe this out in a week.
Right.
It'd be over fast. This is what I can treat. I can treat this, right? But you just cannot even approach that in that environment. It just
it's almost
isn't
like your
fly.
hands are tied.
Yeah.
Even though you're
really.
dying to say something, you
Right.
just can't.
And the clients would find out I was an acupuncturist, and they would ask me,
Oh, wow.
please, could you just, I can't.
Right.
I can't. It's not what I had to do real simple little things for them that were, that could overlap with therapy. And those things usually helped. They usually made a difference.
Well, that's good. At least you were able to put in a little bit.
Yeah, sure. But just like you, my experience is that my Western medical knowledge really helps me a lot as an acupuncturist.
Right.
And my acupuncture knowledge could help in these other Western medical environments. They're just not allowed to most of the time. And that's just really hard to endure.
Right.
When you see something that you can probably help, but you're not allowed to. That's real hard to swallow.
Right.
Yeah. Makes me cry.
Yeah, that exists in a lot of different areas. I mean, as you know, Satch, I've done some witness prep, legal witness prep, and I'm not allowed to do hypnosis when I do that. According to California law, that's prohibited because it's based mostly on a misunderstanding of what hypnosis actually is. But the difficulty becomes, how do you define hypnosis?
Yeah.
So you just have to, for me, I have to just be careful of the language and things like that. I mean, there are lots of other tools and things that you can use in a deposition. You can teach someone about, managing their psychological state and observing their environment, and facial cues and micro expressions and things you can do to control your breath and your posture, and you can do things that shift state, but you cannot do hypnosis when you're doing witness prep, because if the opposing counsel finds out that you've done that, it can invalidate the case.
Yeah.
They can, it's a mistrial kind of thing. They have to kind of start over because there's all sorts of subtleties to it that I don't even honestly fully understand.
Oh my
I just
gosh.
know that I have to steer clear of it.
Yeah.
Much like, I was reading about a high school teacher who was doing hypnosis with his students, and he had great success. It sounded like a really great guy. All the kids loved him, but he got in trouble because one person complained that they had some kind of horrible anxiety. He lost his job over it, even though it probably, I'm just going to say probably, had nothing to do with the hypnosis.
Yeah.
He was just doing guided imagery and relaxation as a group, and
Right.
He offered that to help them manage their stress, and all the kids loved him for it. They're like, oh my gosh,
wow.
He's the greatest. We feel so much more confident in ourselves, and we have more self-esteem, and we just feel better about life in general. And he really turned my life around. I was feeling so sad and depressed, and yet, it became something that they could put their finger on. They could say, oh, it must be that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's doing this thing that's not the usual program, so let's point the finger at that. And so he lost his job over it.
Wow.
The district had lawsuit, and it's a big deal.
Oh.
So just all based on a misunderstanding. I mean, why is that any
crazy.
different than meditation? But if you taught meditation
Right.
as a group in a public school, you might get in trouble too.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Because there could be people with strong religious views. Let's be honest. Really, the only ones that do are the fundamentalist Christians. Is no one else has a problem with that. Not even the Islamic people will have a problem with that, or the Jews, or anyone. It's just them who have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But because they have such a strong influence in Southern California, if that happens in a public school, you're going to have problems.
Right.
Totally.
Right,
Yeah.
because I've considered going to schools. I mean, that's actually on my list of things to do, is to volunteer at schools and give some talks on healthy living for children, and maybe teaching a meditation. But I do kind of worry about using the word meditate, presenting it with the meditation part as part of my package. I think I'm going to start off by saying, oh, let me just have a conversation about food.
Right.
It's funny how, semantics comes into play most of the time. Like, in recent years in the U.S., there's been this issue with dry needling, right? So dry needling is what they're calling putting needles into people so that they don't have to call it acupuncture, right? Because a physical therapist or a chiropractor in most places is not allowed to do acupuncture, but they can do dry needling.
Yeah, very interesting.
So, Bella, you have children.
Yes.
Do you teach them meditation?
Yes, I try.
Mm-hmm.
I try.
Yeah.
I would say my 13-year-old is kind of rolling her eyes now at it. But I do definitely work affirmations in, for sure.
As long as she rolls her eyes up, it's okay.
Yeah, right. Exactly. To the third eye point, I am very happy about that.
Keep doing that, honey.
Right. So I definitely, my kids, I am working on the food. I think we got the food down. My girls read labels all the time.
Nice job.
Yeah.
That's a
good.
big victory right
Yeah,
there.
it is a huge victory. I secretly smile when I see her read something. She's like, "Mommy, it's got yellow number 5. We can't buy this," and I'm like, and I take them to yoga. We do family yoga 2 to 3 times a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I never bothered with taking them to beginner classes because, frankly, I didn't have the time for it, and I wanted to be in my classes, so I just bring them with me in vinyasa, and so
Yeah.
they're learning. My younger one sometimes is in child's pose more than I'd like, but it's okay. She's there. She's absorbing the energy, and I feel like, you know,
She's a child.
She's a child. Yeah.
Right.
They're going to, you know, they're going to resist it at some point, but, and it's kind of like how I grew up. You know, my parents did try to throw all this stuff at me, and I went through a stage where I was like, ugh, give me a break, right? Like, what is this? And here I am. You know, you make a full circle. So I'm definitely trying to instill these habits into my children, and hope for the best.
Yeah,
That's all I can do.
Yeah. Well, you know, those kinds of experiences have a huge impact on our lives. I remember being a little boy, and my dad was meditating. And I was saying, "What are you doing, Dad?" You know, and I was bothering him. I was probably irritating him when he's trying to concentrate. And he said, "I'm meditating." You know, and I said, "What's that?" And so finally he just gave in and he just taught me.
Oh, that's
So
great.
then he had me, okay, sit like this and cross your legs, and, you know, and I closed my eyes and he taught me how to, you know, where to look and everything. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But I sure remember that.
And they're
you know?
tools.
Yeah.
Because, you know, who knows, maybe when you were a teenager and you were going through whatever you were going through, right, as a young boy, you might have remembered that. And that's all I feel like I can give them is tools. You know, I know there's going to be a lot more eye rolling. I know it. And it's probably not going to be at that third eye point. But as long as one day when they're 21, if they can remember, oh, yeah, I remember I was doing this with my mom and this is really stressful and I'm going to try this. So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping.
Yeah, but you know, it plants seeds.
Exactly.
And I look at myself, just like what you said here. You know, as an adult, I came back to all those things.
Exactly.
You know,
Me
all of
too.
them. Yeah, you too.
Me too.
Exactly.
Yeah, it definitely, it sinks in. If they're participating now, even reluctantly, and it's been a while, there's no question they're going to circle back around.
Right.
Yeah. Highly likely, let's put it that way.
I hope so. And what's interesting is even with my health coaching, I mean, I have had a lot of success, and there's like, you know, maybe one client here or there where they'll get really sick and I'll be hard on myself. Like, God, why wasn't I there? What did I say that what could I done that could have changed this? And really, I started to just tell myself, you know, I'm planting seeds in my clients as well. And maybe they're not ready to receive. And maybe a year from now, you know, they'll remember the advice that I gave them or the guidance that I gave them, and implement it then, right?
You know, just like some seeds need to be scorched before they'll germinate.
Right.
You've planted some seeds, and maybe someday in the future somebody might have an illness or have a situation. They go, you know what? It's time.
Right.
That's
You
a
know,
good
and they come
analogy,
back.
Satch.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Really good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to borrow that one.
Hey. You know, I heard if you take
good.
a word or a concept, use it 3 times, it's yours.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you
That's
go.
awesome.
Yeah, just use it 3 times real quick, and it's yours.
Well, I told you I wouldn't let you forget.
Okay.
Would you please share with us some tips that we can take with us, Bela?
Sure. I think the most important things, and I don't know if I would necessarily say they're so easy, at least one of them is. So not going in any order, but I would say number 1 would be to drink water, because you'd be surprised how people do not drink enough water, or they're drinking 3 cups of coffee and a soda and a Starbucks Frappuccino.
Why is that important?
Well, first of all, I mean, our bodies are 75% water. It nourishes us, it gives us energy, and it prevents us from grabbing another coffee or going to Starbucks, because I feel like you're more satisfied,
Okay.
you know, because it is probably the only thing that's really thirst quenching, you know, besides just thirst. I just feel like you just feel better when you're well hydrated. You've got more energy and you feel more full. So definitely water is.
You said you feel more full.
Yeah.
And that's important because what?
Well, because if you're trying to lose weight, that's definitely an approach, is to have water before your meals and have water after your meals, and you're definitely going to feel more satisfied, right?
That's cool. What would you say is a good strategy for somebody who doesn't drink water? Because I know a lot of people who have a hard time with that one.
I've met people who hate to drink water.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I gradually learned how to like water because I knew it was important. But I mean, what's your strategy? How do you?
So my strategy is, because I do forget sometimes, is I wake up in the morning and I start my day with 2 glasses of water. One is lemon water.
Wow.
And it's just automatic. It's a habit. Two large glasses of water, and then that way I have 16 ounces in. Right, it's just done by like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Get her done.
Yeah,
let's get her done.
And then throughout the day, like I'm just worried about 6 or 7 more glasses, which I get in, but that's a strategy. I would say some people who are really bad do timers. Think about it with your meal, after your meal, however you like it, whatever you believe in, when it goes best. But definitely, it just depends. If I've got someone who's at their desk, I tell them, for 1 week, let's calculate how much you're drinking. So the formula for drinking water and how much water your body really needs is looking at your body weight. So for example, if you were to weigh 140 pounds, you divide that by 2, which is 70. And so you should be drinking 70 ounces of water a day, which is a little over 8 glasses.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes it really simple.
Yeah, it does.
That's fantastic.
And does it have to be just water, or can we put like, lemon or other things into it, or is it just like, does it count if it's tea or an infusion?
Okay. Well, if it's decaf, but if you're having caffeinated drinks, I would add an additional glass.
Okay. Why is that?
Because caffeine is dehydrating.
Okay.
So you actually need to add an additional. So if you have 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and you need to drink 8 glasses, I would suggest you drink 10.
Okay,
10 glasses of water a day. If you drink alcohol, same rule applies. For whatever amount of alcohol you drink, you need to add that of water.
Okay.
So that would be my first tip. Number 2 is definitely work on something for stress management.
Okay.
So find what resonates with you, figure that out. If it's reading, if it's going to a yoga class, if it's doing Qigong, if it's doing, whatever it is that you enjoy that decreases your stress and calms your nervous system down, you've got to implement something like that. Whether you start with just 5 minutes a day and move up gradually to 20 minutes. I feel like that's very important.
Is it beneficial to just do 5 minutes a day?
I think it's a great start.
Okay.
And I think that people who even do 5 minutes a day feel the difference. And so I want people to just start with 5 minutes, because you've got 5 minutes in your day. I don't care how busy you are.
Right.
You've definitely got 5 minutes.
No excuses.
Yeah, no excuses, because I know you're spending that amount of time, if not more, on Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
I think you just inspired me to start every commute to work listening to comedians.
Okay, great.
Yeah, there we go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm just going to laugh
whatever it
myself to
is.
work.
Yeah, laugh therapy, right? Laughing yoga, whatever.
Yeah.
So it seems like with that suggestion, there's a portion of the community that I've interacted with which wants to be perfect. They say, I need it to be this big grandiose thing. I've got to take on this project that I've been wanting to do for a long time. That's like learning to become a master of this or that or whatever. What would you say to those people who maybe have that really high standard and it's really kind of getting in their way? They're not
the 5 minutes?
Yeah. Because you're saying like incorporate some kind of way of dealing with stress, right? But a lot of people they want to bite off more than they can chew.
Right.
Because they have these
but
big
how
ideas.
are they feeling when they're biting off more than they can chew? That's what they need to assess.
Horrible.
Right. So if you're feeling horrible, let's start with 5 minutes. That's what you need to look at. If you're feeling great and you don't feel like you even need to do any kind of stress management, more power to you. And I wish, I can be there. But for most of us, I feel like we can all benefit from just that 5 minutes, if not 20, right? If not an hour.
Yeah.
So anything you really, truly enjoy that reduces your stress and how you're going to respond to stress throughout your day, whether it be your children that are driving you crazy or traffic or pressures at work, whatever.
Cat videos.
Yeah, whatever.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, Deepak Chopra says, pull over a block away from home and just meditate for 5 minutes before
Right.
you go home.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
just-
a good one.
It's such a great idea.
Yeah, it's a
you know.
it would be nice to have sort of like 100 ways to get that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That'd
Just
be
like
great.
random
Yeah.
suggestions like that.
Yeah.
It's funny how people don't think of those little things like that.
Right.
Pull over a block or two before you get home, and do your meditation there.
Yeah.
You know what I suggest sometimes is deep belly breathing, and do it at every red light.
There
Do
you
it at
go.
every red light, because guess what? Most of us are breathing in the chest area because
Yeah.
we're so anxious and we're just going, that when are you really taking a deep breath, full inhalation from your belly, and then a full exhalation? When are you really doing that?
I love it.
That's really
So
good.
at
Yeah,
a
that's
red
great.
light,
Yeah.
I think we should all do that.
I'd love to share one that I do when I drive.
Okay.
So I created a sort of hypnotic anchor association to anytime I see the word shoulder. It's usually like shoulder closed or open shoulder.
Yeah.
I interpret it the same way.
Okay.
It means that I need to reposition my shoulders and relax them down.
Yeah,
And
every
align
time
it with my body. So it's, I think of that Tai Chi concept of having an open shoulder, right?
Yeah.
And I just decided that anytime I see the word shoulder, which is often, it reminds me to, draw my shoulders back and down, let the shoulder blades sort of be smooth against my back, and sort of open the shoulder.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I just thought of one.
Yeah.
Stop
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
and just relax for a moment.
Oh, you'll be relaxing a lot
you
then.
see, very
Nice.
good, very
Nice.
good. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think we can all manage that one. And then my third tip is probably the most obvious, which is just eat real food. Just real food that is nutrient dense, that is in its whole form.
What are some examples of that?
Like fruits and vegetables. That's what I mean. Like just eat a lot of variety, instead of going through a drive-through. It's really easy to prep something simple at home, and healthy food tastes really good. I mean, we're a major foodie family, and I would say the food that we're eating tastes really, really good. I mean, we get excited about grilled fennel in our house. I don't know. So many people don't even try that. But it's like if you just experiment with like a different vegetable every week, try what a mango tastes like. I don't know. You'd be surprised how many people haven't.
Yeah. Wow.
So I just feel like give real food a shot. And it's so funny because it's so simple, but seriously.
Well, when you go to the supermarket, I think most people they go into robotic mode. They get what they think they're there to get. But there are sections of the grocery department that I think most people just graze over real quickly, or they blast through that section, and it's a blur, and they don't notice that strange bumpy looking thing in the corner that celery
with
celery
different
root,
colors, right.
right? It's
Right.
like maybe stop for a second and think, how could I use celery root?
Right.
Ask your grandma.
Right.
Ask
Right.
your mom.
Right,
Like Google it. How has it been used, and what are some
Yeah.
ideas that you could do?
Right.
Gosh, Google's your friend.
Right.
I
Go,
mean,
go onto YouTube and say, "What do I do with a kombucha squash?"
right.
Or get a health coach.
Get a
and
health
they'll
coach.
help you.
This is a
That's right.
concept.
Hire
Yeah.
Bela.
Yeah, hire me, and
There you go.
I'll help you through that, because
Yeah.
that's something I do have them do, is a new vegetable every week.
Oh, very
With
good.
recipes,
Very
by the
good.
way.
All
Well,
right.
and what about joining one of those organic grocery
The
delivery?
FSA, or what is it called? The boxes.
Yeah, the boxes where you're kind of forced to try new things, otherwise
Right.
you're wasting.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They give you stuff that's seasonal, so it's you're always eating in the seasons.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bella, you said eat real food. Those
Right.
are the words you chose. And that
Yeah.
reminds me of something that I read in the book Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. He's talking about Scott Jurek, who's the very famous ultra marathon runner. who's just, like the super duper outstanding marathon runner. And I remember there was a part in the book where they were talking to him about food, and he had always carried like little trail mixes and stuff with him when he's on his 100-mile runs, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, "You don't use goo?" Like runners use goo, to like.
Right.
He said, "Nah, I prefer real food."
Yeah.
And he's the champion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And he's
exactly.
eating trail mix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what goo is, look it up. It's a calorie-rich food product that athletes sometimes use.
Fake honey.
Right.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's great. So what problem is that solving when you eat real food? Why is that
Well,
good for your health?
it's preventing, first of all, so many things from happening, right? Just eating real food is going to improve your digestion. And it's going to prevent, there's so many artificial foods out there that make us want to continually eat because they don't create satisfaction. And so by eating real food, you're eating less of it and you're more satisfied. Your digestion improves, you're feeling better. I mean, it's like endless. And if you have a chronic condition, it'll help. Instead of picking up something that's really quick, that's got so many ingredients that you have no clue. And the other thing that's shocking is that this country allows so many chemicals that are banned in all of Europe.
Well, there are a lot of things, a lot of pesticides and fungicides that are banned in Mexico.
Yeah.
People, that's from Mexico. Hey, wait a minute. Mexico banned a lot of pesticides and things like that. So don't be so quick to say, "Oh, Mexico," and they're,
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
They use less chemicals on their farming products than we do.
Yeah.
So let's get real here. So that's great, Bella. So drink water, more of it. And you gave us a wonderful formula for figuring out how much water to drink and how to get that in our system. Figure out some way of handling stress, some kind of a method, and start incorporating at least 5 minutes.
Right.
Or pick some amount of time that you can do every day and just do it every day, right?
Right.
And then start eating real food, whole foods, unprocessed foods, more fresh food.
Right.
Get more variety.
Right.
So that you're improving your nutrition every single day.
Right.
That's
exactly.
great.
I'm going to try one new vegetable a week.
All right.
Thank you.
Those are
Very
great
good.
tips.
Glad
And
to inspire.
There are probably a lot more tips that you have, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how would people find you and consult with you?
Okay. So I'm currently a practitioner at the Healing Sanctuary OC. And also I wanted to offer a free 20-minute consultation to anyone who emails me at Bela Health, which is with one L, so it's BELA health @yahoo.com. And so if anyone's interested, go ahead and send me an email, and I'd love to chat with you.
Lovely.
All right.
Very generous of you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. It's been very, very interesting, very intriguing. It's been fun to talk to another healthcare person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great conversation.
It was great.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, here's to health.
Here's to our health.
Thank you. Thank you guys
Salud.
for having me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Authenticity Show with your hosts, Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. Very special thanks to our guest, Bela Patel. The show is produced by Oliver Althoen. Our theme music is composed by Oliver Althoen. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our website, AuthenticityShow.com. Thanks for listening, and have an authentic day.